So how do you go from simply distributing customer experience data to curating the kinds of CX stories that get your company's hearts and heads in the game? This week, the tools that Customerville uses to curate stories at scale. Hi guys, Max Israel. Welcome back to 40 Billion Reasons. I am here in Seattle this week, and my sister has a brand new little baby, a 1-month-old baby. And I thought, I'm coming through town. I'll spend a few days and do the night duty, the feeding and the baby changing and all that. I've got 3 kids. What the heck? I'm great at this stuff. It turns out my 3 kids, I did this business between like 15 and 20 years ago, and it's a lot harder than I remember. So if you see some like bags under my eyes, or maybe I'm a little less cogent this week than I usually am, that is what's going on. Listen, last week we talked about something really cool. The idea of going from being a postman, just kind of pushing customer experience data through the hierarchy of your organization, to being a publisher, to really curating that story in meaningful ways to win the hearts and minds of people at scale, right? People throughout your organization. That's clutch. That is totally key. Because if you've got people inspired and motivated and thinking about their role in the customer's life, they change your behavior. That's how you become really customer-centric. And I thought this week would be a good idea to give you some concrete examples of kind of how we do that. What we're trying to do here is take this story, this flow of feedback that comes in, and slice off different stories and serve them up in great motivating ways for different people in the organization, depending on who they are. And really, there are 3 ways that we do that. The first type of curation is called sharer curation. The second type is called reader curation. And the third type is machine learning curation. So how does sharer curation work, and why is it important? Well, think about when somebody's completing a survey, for instance, right? They're giving you all kinds of information that you can use to curate and to make decisions about what you do with that feedback. They're going to give you things like, if you don't already have it, their name and how they interacted with you. They're going to give you some statistical grades, some comments, but a great example of additional sharer curation that can be really helpful is if they upload a photo. This is a very handy type of sharer curation where they may upload a photo and the software actually does an outstanding job of knowing what's in the photo. The algorithm vision error rate, which is the how accurate the machine is at understanding what's in the photo, is about 2%. That's better than you, okay? So computer is better than you at understanding this is a photo of a bathroom or something, right? But the machine actually can't know why you're giving me this. Are you saying this is a beautiful clean bathroom, I'm so happy you did the remodel? Or are you upset because there's a chip on the sink or something, and it's been there for 3 weeks, and you're grumpy about that, right? So when you look at one of our surveys, for instance, you'll see that a customer can upload a photo, but then we're going to ask you for a little bit of sharer curation. We're going to ask you to say, hey, how did this photo make you feel? But just think about how much more powerful that photo is now. Now you've got the photo, which is awesome. You know what's in it because the machine told you so, the software told you so. But now you have one other really valuable piece of information that just lights it up, which is the sharer helping you curate that by telling you whether or not they liked it. By the way, other examples, if you and I go out to dinner and one of us takes a selfie and we put that thing on Facebook, and you say, hey, I'm here partying with Max Israel at ABC restaurant. We're having a great time. You just help Facebook to curate that, right? The second type of curation is reader curation. Back to my example where we go out to dinner and take a selfie. What if one of our friends sees that and gives it the thumbs up, right? That tells Facebook a lot, or LinkedIn or whatever a lot. It's deceptively simple, but if you're using it in our case, when people log into a Customerville dashboard that our client uses, and they hit that thumbs up, that's powerful because that tells us that, hey, we should maybe move this to the top of the feed or put it in the weekly automatic customer newsletter, newsletter or something like that. Deceptively simple, very powerful. There is a reason that thumbs up is in Facebook's logo, right? And by the way, in your world and my world, in the corporate world, we don't treat all likes the same. I'm going to be perfectly honest here, right? If someone is logged into the dashboard or something and they give it a thumbs up, that's good. But if we see the CEO of your company giving something the thumbs up at 5 in the morning, gets more weight, I guess. I know what to say, but that's just true, right? Those are all examples of reader-provided curation. And the third and final type of curation that I'll share with you today is machine learning curation. And I'll show you a little chart here so you can see how rapidly things like the word error rate and the algorithm vision error rate, how rapidly those things are improving. When it comes to text, for instance, the machine is going to tag text in pretty much any language you can think of. It's going to be able to tag it for category. And then it's also going to be able to give it a sentiment score. So you're starting to get a picture of how these three things work together. Let me give you a quick example of one like report or two reports that you might see in our dashboard where you can see how these three things play together. So here's an example of a report where you can see share-provided curation, where the customer would have given us things like their name, statistical scores. In this case, the photo of these earrings would have added some comments to that. That share-provided curation would have told us what she thinks about the photo, made her happy, right? So that's very, very important. And you can see reader-provided curation in the same report. You can see that readers would have added comments to it. The machine has tagged this with categorization and sentiment, and a human reader can actually say, I think you got that wrong, and make a correction there, and the machine will take that, improve its learning capability. And of course, other things, if this is a red flag or a complaint, your reader can add color to this by telling you where this needs to go and who needs to see it. And so this is an example of a dashboard, but there are other places too where we'll just show you some examples of what we call e-publications or push reports, some of the things we use today, and also some of the ways we're combining these three types of curations for e-publications in the future, where you can start to get a sense for if you're using these three types of curation together and you're combining them with a bank of art, you can start to automate this process of sending things like company newsletters, tailored down to the individual employee level. You might have three people who work in the same level of the hierarchy, where right now they're getting the same damn thing because they work in the same level of the hierarchy. That doesn't make any sense. One of them has worked here for 2 months and the other guy for 5 years. One of them has just had training, the other one has not. One of them is on a company-sponsored management track. If you know those things about those people, you can train train the engine that generates things like your newsletter or your dashboard to say, hey, what do I know about this content? And knowing that, I'm going to use these three types of curation to pick and choose what I put in content I deliver to each of these people. And again, the reason for this, I cannot overemphasize this, is that we want to make this feedback meaningful at an emotional level and highly relevant to the individual employee, right? Think about how hard it is to get people to log into your existing portal or dashboard right now of any type in your company, but certainly where they go to get customer experience data, and to think about that, right? Now, how hard is it to get them to check Facebook or LinkedIn? You don't have to convince them to do that. Sometimes you got to tell them to stop doing that. And so that's an example of how powerfully effective that kind of curation can be. And another kind of proof point for us is if you walk around your company and you just start asking people questions about the customer experience, things you want them to know, right? The average grade, what's working well, what's not. If people can look you right in the eye and tell you, they're engaged. They're emotionally engaged, right? If they can't do that, then that means they're really not absorbing what you're sending them. They've tuned it out. All right, you guys, until next week, take care.